Faces is a series of micro fashion films I made with Ilanka Verhoeven back in March of 2023. The goal of Faces was to create short fashion films with 4 models that showcased many narratives about their interests and experience in the fashion industry. Ilanka is a freelance stylist and creative director, and in the beginning of 2023, she reached out to me via Instagram to meet up for a coffee as a way to introduce herself. But when I heard about her idea for the Faces project, I had to offer my services to jump in and make some short films because I loved the idea so much. Pre-production for Faces took place about a month and consisted of a few things. First, we needed to cast the models, which meant conducting a series of short interviews over Zoom to see who had the types of stories we were most interested in telling. Once we had an idea of who we wanted to cast, we had to source props that related to those backstories. On my side, I did shot lists and picked music ahead of time to help me understand the mood of each piece I was trying to create. I chose a 4x3 frame size for Faces because it's an aspect ratio I love, but I don't have the opportunity to work with a lot in my professional work. 4x3 also helped us out a lot because it made it easier to hide the edges of our set, which was quite small. We wanted the set itself to be quite minimal and sparse to draw attention to the looks the models were wearing along with the props they were interacting with. As for the lighting, we wanted it to remain bright but still retain dimensionality. Camera-wise, we shot on the red Komodo in Red Code Raw MQ using the 6K 17:9 mode, which we cropped for a 4x3 frame, and the lenses we shot on were the Leica R 24mm L Merit, the 50mm Summicron, and the TT Artisan 11mm fisheye. On the day, our process consisted of each model arriving, going into hair and makeup, getting dressed, and then alternating through photo first and then video. After we shot with each model, we conducted a very short interview that was an extension of the pre-shoot interview that we had with each talent before the shoot. Alongside the studio, there was a giant window which we ended up just hanging diffusion over rather than blacking out. For Deng's shots on the yellow background, we keyed with the 600D light dome double breaking through the 4x of opal, and when we moved over to the white background, we also added in the f22C with the grid as a top light and brought in the 300D with the spotlight mount to create a dappled light pattern on the floor and background. Moving on to Fiorella's setup, we swapped in our Venetian blind gobo as the spotlight mount. Anaya's shoot was done in 2 setups, stayed in the same set and just turned off both the f22C and the 600D, keyed with the 300D through the spotlight mount, gelling the unit with full CTO. Then we swapped to a second set and we keyed with the 600D, the light dome, and double breaking through an 8x of magic cloth. Our last talent of the day was Isabella, who we shot on a dark blue backdrop, keying once again with the 600D, light dome, and opal combo, and we used the 300D to create a dapple on the background and floor. For her second shot, we had her lie on her back on the carpet of our other set, and I created a pattern on the wall behind her with the Venetian blind gobo. And then we also keyed with the 600D with the unit placed opposite camera for a far side key through the light dome. I cut these pieces myself, and I did a base grade so we could get a sense of what the look would be as we edited. I like to bring in vendors I work with in my professional work to help with color and sound. I feel like their expertise helps level up a project considerably, and I also really appreciate the process of delegating and including more voices in a project than just my own. What's your opinion on this? Do you like doing everything yourself, or do you like collaborating with other filmmakers? Let me know in the comments. Once we had all agreed on what the edits would be in lock picture, my colorist friend Andrew Scene took over and did the grade. I'm pretty sure we liked his first pass enough to call it a day after that. I think he really understands what I'm looking for most of the time. And then the edits were passed over to Colton Jackson for a sound mix. We played around with a few possibilities in terms of how we'd represent the talent's voices in the mix. We tried a straightforward mix that was more or less normal, and then we tried another one where their interviews sounded kind of like recorded voicemails, which I really loved, but we opted for a final version that landed somewhere in the middle. I really loved working with Ilanka on this project, and I really adore the results. As with any project, I certainly learned a lot along the way and really enjoyed the process, and I'm really happy to have taken the time to create this work.